What if Ngannou never left the UFC? There never would have been the boxing matches against Fury and AJ, because Dana White would have never let him fight elsewhere. Dana's never allowed anyone to box except Conor McGregor.
That means Ngannou would have had to stay active in the UFC, and around that time there were already rumors about Jon Jones moving up to heavyweight and the potential super fight Ngannou vs Jones.
Jones' last fight was against Reyes in 2020, and the hype around his heavyweight comeback 3 years later was huge. I really think that super fight everyone wanted, Jones vs Ngannou, would have actually happened, and honestly I think Ngannou would have knocked him out.
We all saw Jones vs Stipe Miocic, and if you imagine there was Ngannou in there instead, Jones would have gone to sleep. He would have had a hard time taking Ngannou down and controlling him on the ground. I mean, look at Francis, a natural heavyweight beast, and Jones just moving up from light heavyweight, not looking in shape. To me, he already looked washed at heavyweight.
Jones only moved up because he had Ciryl Gane in front of him, a guy with no ground game. And after that, instead of fighting interim champ Tom Aspinall, he chose to fight Stipe Miocic, a 42-year-old full-time firefighter who hadn't fought in 4 years. Let's be real, if Jones ducked Aspinall, he probably would have ducked Ngannou too. Ngannou's last UFC fight was against Gane in early 22, so let's say he fought again around late 22 or early 23.
A rematch against Gane would have made the most sense. Their first fight was a close decision to Francis, and Gane was the hyped up new heavyweight who moved like a lightweight.
After that first Ngannou fight in January 22, Gane came back 8 months later and KO'd Tai Tuivasa in round 3. So yeah, Ngannou vs Gane 2 would have probably happened around March or April 23.
And Ngannou probably would have won again. Even with the torn ACL in the first fight, he had success on the ground. Why wouldn't he dominate again, especially knowing Gane still had no grappling?
Then, Ngannou's next fight probably would have been early 24, Ngannou vs Miocic. Miocic returning not for Jones but for the trilogy with Francis. And again, Ngannou would have brutally knocked him out. Miocic was far past his prime at that point.
Just look at how Stipe looked against Jones and tell me with a straight face he could have survived against Ngannou. No chance.
Meanwhile, Tom Aspinall had been destroying everyone, knocking out Marcin Tybura and Sergey Pavlovich, who was a straight-up killer at that time, all in the first round. That made him the rightful title contender.
Ngannou, unlike Jones, would have ducked Aspinall, and that fight, Ngannou vs Aspinall, would have been one of the biggest, if not the biggest fights in UFC history with the hype both guys carried.
The heavyweight division would have been saved, exciting again, with two monsters like Francis Ngannou and Tom Aspinall at the top.
Aspinall with the shortest average fight time in UFC history, 2 minutes and 2 seconds. 8 wins in the UFC, most of them first round KOs, and only 1 loss to Curtis Blaydes because he injured his knee 15 seconds into the fight.
Ngannou's average fight time 2 minutes and 37 seconds, not counting the losses to Lewis and Stipe.
That fight would have been an absolute banger between two scary heavyweights. What do you guys think? Who would have won?